Hello everyone and welcome back to Whisky Wednesday. This week is the first of a three-part series focusing on the Tamdhu distillery, which features these three rather cute little bottles. We've got a 12, a 15 and an 18. These were given to me as a gift. They came in this cute little slide-out box that had a booklet in it, which I found out later, but sadly I threw that away quite a while ago. So we're going to be roaming on the fly in a little bit of the history of Tamdhu today. The 12, 15 and 18 are all fully matured exclusively in sherry oak or ex-sherry oak. I'm not sure of the combination of it, if it's just Oloroso, if it's Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez, if it's Oloroso and Amontillado or Manzanilla. Not too sure, but I've always found that if it simply states sherry, chances are it's just Oloroso. But a little bit of history on Tamdhu. The most recent history, I suppose, was in 2009, the distillery was mothballed, and then in 2011, Edrington sold the distillery to Ian MacLeod, the owner at the time of Glengoyne and Smokehead and now Rosebank and Tamdhu as well. Excuse me, lunch is repeated on me there. 2012 production is resumed, so there is a 3-year gap in production, which the distillery is sort of feeling a little bit now with the removal of some items and then the arrival of some others. And yeah, they release 50-year-olds, they release batch strength whiskies. I can't remember if I've stated the capacity, but it is only 4 million litres. It is a small distillery. Not as small as others, but like it's still relatively small for its size. And Tamdhu has become quite a competitor when it comes to sherry cask matured whiskey. Now here in the glass next to me we have the 12-year-old, which is bottled at 43% ABV. I believe everything is natural colour with Tamdhu. I'm wearing this rather bright hoodie, so trying to get some of the colour on this to show you might be a little bit difficult. But the whiskies do get progressively darker as they age. The 15 and the 18 are both at 46%. This being at 43, unsure if this is chill filtered at all. But it is a wonderful example of Speyside Distillery. Tamdhu as a whole, and Ian MacLeod as a whole too, really showing their force these days with how popular Glengoyne has become and how popular Tamdhu has become and Smokehead, and what I'm quite excited what they'll do with Rosebank, because only a couple of days ago I saw that they filled the first new cask of Rosebank. So that's very exciting indeed. But as we roll this around the glass, why have we not reviewed Tamdhu for such a long time? Or ever, actually. I haven't gone back into the archives to see if Joe did anything with it. He must have. He really must have, because he would review literally everything he could get his hands on. I don't know why. I think with Tamdhu, obviously these bottles aren't the same shape as the full-size bottles, which are these beautiful, almost like Seattle needle tower looking things. And they have quite a presence on a shelf. And I notice every day in my job that more and more people are noticing them. But for some reason, I think you kind of get lost in the world of sherry. I think as soon as, especially of recent time, if you were a Macallan fan, if you were a Glendronach fan, if you were a Dalmore fan or a Benriach fan, especially a couple of years ago when Benriach had that like 12 all sherry maturation, that kind of purple label it had. Older Macallan feels, Glendronach before its sort of mass purchase. A few with Aberlour, I feel like Aberlour's fallen from grace quite a lot recently. You hear less and less people talk about Aberlour, Edredour. And then as soon as everyone perhaps maybe started to pay attention to Tamdhu, especially in like 2018 when they brought out 12, 15 and 18-year-olds, Glenallachie comes onto the scene and, Billy Walker's new thing, everyone's really excited, rightly so. But I feel like Tamdhu kind of deserves its time in the light now. So here we have it in the glass. I did a terrible shot of trying to get this to focus last time with the Linkwood. It's still not great. This camera's really been playing with me recently. It likes to mess with me on recording days. But that's not working. But overall, I will say compared to the video we did last week, the body is a little bit... Actually no, it's probably about the same as the Linkwood 12. It does have a nice oily look to it. Let's see if we can just... there we go. Coating the glass rather nicely. But to smell, will we expect typical sherry castings, or is this one a little bit different? Nope. It's pretty classic sherry, which there is nothing wrong with, I talk a lot about falling in and out of love with sherry cask whiskey, just because it is nice and I do like it, and have bought I never want to think about how much money you've spent on certain types of whiskey, but you know, I've owned a lot of sherry cask whiskey in my life, and there's even more that I'm going to buy at some point. But yeah, the thing is with sherry, it can just smell a little bit the same sometimes, can't it? I will say with this one though, there is a very, very distinct aroma. Can I kill that fruit fly? Oh no, it's gone away, never mind. There is a very, very distinct aroma of like prunes and brown sugar. You know when you open a bag of like Demerara or Muscovado sugar and it's that kind of, that heavy, that weighty smell of its sweetness. It's like a wafer cone thing or like a wafer biscuit note to it. And some fruity stuff too. I've just been and found a new fruit stall near where I live and I've just bought some really fresh blackberries, but it kind of has a small smell of that to it as well. Blackberry, plum. Again, classic sherry notes, but you know, there's nothing wrong with that really. I just fall in and out of love with it. You know, the smell of brown sugar is exceptional on this. It makes me think of like creme brulee and stuff like that. There's almost no alcohol burn on the nose whatsoever. And if you hold it a little bit longer in the glass, there's almost like a slightly bittersweet orange profile. It's like grapefruit or like Seville orange. Taste, finish, let's see what's happening. A little bit spicier than I was expecting, but in a fun way. Slightly more playful, certainly not as sweet as what the nose would give you across. It almost has like a gunpowder rum feel to it. That kind of a fizzy spice, which I've used to describe a couple of whiskies in the past, and they always end up being quite good. That nice kind of peppery, fizzy spiciness. You take the inhale as you kind of swallow the whiskey, and again I'm getting the finish and the aromas that you get with the finish as you breathe in. Again, that brown sugar is back, that creme brulee, that kind of crystallized, caramelized caramel thing. So, as I say, these were bought as a gift, and God, it's July now, so April? Long time ago. Well, not that long ago, but you know what I mean. And I know reviewing miniatures can always be a little bit tricky. So what I did was I tried a little bit of each, and then I just kind of left them to oxidize, aerate, whatever word you would want to use, just in their bottles. And I will say the palate on this Tamdhu, on the subject of that gunpowder rum and that fizzy pepperiness, does come across as a tiny bit sulphury. I don't find that a problem. I think that in certain whiskies can actually add quite a lot of complexity to it. And it is a type of gunpowder slash sulphuriness where it feels chewy. It's almost adding texture to the product. On the palate, in terms of physical taste, I will say I'm not getting loads of stuff. The arrival is really sweet and caramelly. Yeah, there's not tons happening on the palate. I'll be honest. It arrives quite sweet, and not loads happens. And then as you swallow it, you get back that brown sugar, caramel, slightly sulphury, slightly gunpowdery feel. Pretty old school in that sense, you know. That's a little bit disappointing, I won't lie to you all. I thought it'd be a little bit punchy, a little bit more intense, a little bit more forward. It's a very easy drink. Maybe I'm being overly critical here. There are some nice like fruity notes to it. Kind of red apple, there's like a little bit of honey. The smell is awesome. I quite enjoy the finish. I like a little bit of sulphur in a sherry cask product. I think it adds a depth to it. Not too much, but you like, you know, I don't find it that offensive. There's not much happening in the middle. It's just quite, I don't know, it's very approachable. I think if you were to give this someone as their first ever sherry cask whiskey, it would probably be the thing where they go, oh my god, I can drink this and I can drink this without water. Which a lot of first time whiskey drinkers do. Yeah, that is a little bit disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting big things for this because whichever one of these I like the most, I probably will end up buying a big bottle of it because I am missing a big sherry cask to open at some point. The Linkwood we reviewed last week, I would buy in a heartbeat over this. They're the same age, they're roughly the same price. The Tamdhu might be a little bit cheaper by like £4 or £5. I gave the Linkwood an 8, so I'm going to give this a 7. It smells good. The finish is nice, especially for 43%, but there really isn't much happening in the middle for me. But I suppose in a way this is like the entry-level product, right? So let's not be too harsh on it. But yeah, that is Tamdhu 12. That gets a 7 out of 10 for me. If you've never tried it before, I would encourage you to, especially if you like sherry, because you probably will enjoy this. But yes, I will see you all next week for a review of the 15-year-old. See you then. Cheers.